فكرت بكركي كانت تأييد.
Good afternoon. It is Monday, May 19th. I'm Yumna Naufal, and these are today's headlines. Prime Minister Tamam Salam warns of the dangers of a presidential vacuum, saying that efforts should be exerted to avoid it. Da'i defends his visit to Jerusalem, saying it is a church and pastoral-related visit. The Minister of Defense for Syria's opposition government resigns following disagreements with the body's head. Prime Minister Tamam Salam warns of the dangers of a presidential vacuum in Lebanon, saying that efforts should be exerted to avoid it. He adds that it's a must that all sides cooperate in order to avert a vacuum, while saying that Lebanon cannot be governed unilaterally by one party without the other political parties taken into consideration. The Premier stated that as the government was successful filling vacancies in various administrative posts, lawmakers should be able to elect a president and avoid vacancy in the country's top post. Da'i says that it is not logical for Lebanon to have a vacuum in the presidency, while criticizing MP for failing to reach an agreement over a candidate. Just to remind you, Lebanon has failed to elect a president after 4 rounds of presidential elections at parliament, and the 5th round of the election is scheduled for Thursday, 2 days before Sulaiman's term ends. Maronite Patriarch Da'i stands firm on his decision to go to occupy Jerusalem, a visit that has stirred controversy in the country. Da'i told Prime Minister Tamam Salam that the visit to Jerusalem is for a church and pastoral-related visit. There is no political motive behind the visit, he stressed, after his meeting at the Grand Sarai in downtown Beirut. The Patriarch said that aside from his Jerusalem visit, he also discussed the presidential election, and he previously has said he will join Pope Francis during a tour of the Holy Land on May 24th and 26th, a visit that would mark and make him the first Maronite Patriarch to travel to Israel since it was founded in 1948. Speaker Nabih Berri is expressing readiness to call for a parliamentary session set to elect a new president ahead of Thursday if positive indications appear regarding an agreement over the name of the candidate. He says he will also call for consecutive sessions after the constitutional deadline to elect a new president on May 25th. Parliament has so far failed to elect a new president over differences between the March 8 and 14 alliances. Asked about the meetings held in the French capital of Paris between several Lebanese officials, Berri said that they are not enough to reach consensus and that any accord between the two sides will remain incomplete if the rest of the political parties did not agree on it. There are fears that the vacuum in the country's top Christian post will affect Lebanon's power-sharing agreement under the president, which should be a Maronite, the premier is Sunni, and the speaker is Shia. And 162,000 people have been killed in Syria since the conflict broke out in March of 2011, according to the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights' latest figures. The Britain-based monitoring group, which relies on a network of sources on the ground, said it had documented the death of exactly 162,402 people. Among them were over 53,000 civilians, including over 8,000 children. The group said 42,700 members of the armed opposition had been killed, including more than 13,500 fighters from jihadist groups like Al-Qaeda's affiliate Nusra Front and the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant. The observatory also documented the death of 438 members of Hezbollah, which is fighting alongside the regime, and 1,200 other non-Syrian pro-regime fighters. The toll also includes 2,900 unidentified people whose death the observatory has confirmed without being able to record their identities. The Minister of Defense of the opposition of Syria's government has resigned following disagreements with the body's head. This is according to opposition sources, highlighting divisions among President Bashar al-Assad's opponents. Saudi-backed dissident Assad Mustafa was appointed to his post in November as part of a plan by the opposition National Coalition to administer rebel-held areas of the war-torn country. But the government in exile has been unable to control desperate rebel groups, which include foreign Al-Qaeda insurgents, and has received only marginal support from its Western backers. Mustafa, in his 60s, served as Minister of Agriculture under Assad's father, Hafiz al-Assad, but defected after the uprising against 40 years of family rule started in 2011 and turned into a civil war. A rebel source close to Mustafa said he resigned on Sunday night to protest a lack of funds for his fighters from coalition head Ahmed Jarba. Coming up next, Michael Jackson, that's right, performs at the Billboard Music Awards. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching Future TV. In Iraq, election results are expected to put Nouri al-Maliki in the driver's seat to remain Iraq's prime minister for a third term, despite vocal opposition and markedly worsening security. The tallies from the April 30th general election, delayed for weeks due to a litany of complaints, according to the Electoral Commission, are likely to show Maliki's bloc won the most seats in parliament but fell short of a majority. That would mean the incumbent, who hails from Iraq's Shia majority, would require the support of Sunni Arab and Kurdish parties. But many of these have refused to countenance another term for Maliki, whom they accuse of consolidating power and being to blame for a protracted surge in unrest. Forces apparently loyal to a renegade Libyan general said they had attacked parliament and suspended its activities, directly challenging the legitimacy of the country's central government in Libya. A commander in Libya's military police on Sunday read a statement on behalf of a group led by General Khalifa Haftar announcing the suspension. Haftar is a one-time rebel commander who said the U.S. backed his efforts to topple Muammar Gaddafi in the 1990s. He says his group is taking on some of Libya's most hardline groups and blames the government for not doing more to tackle them. Hours before the parliamentary suspension, members of an armed group backed by truck-mounted anti-aircraft guns, mortars and rocket fire attacked Parliament, sending politicians fleeing for their lives as gunmen ransacked the legislature. Mali's Prime Minister Moussa Mara says his country is now at war with Tuareg separatists following a battle between government forces and members of the nomadic rebel group that killed at least 36 people. Mara made the statement on Sunday after clashes between the two sides in the northern city of Kidal on Saturday, also accused at least 30 to be taken hostage, according to government officials. The fighting started on Saturday outside the regional governor's offices as Mali's prime minister visited the city of Kidal as part of his first tour of the country's restive northern desert. During the fighting, 8 members of the armed forces were killed and 25 wounded, while 28 of the attackers were killed, according to the defense ministry. Russian President Vladimir Putin ordered troops deployed near Ukraine to return to their home bases while fighting continues in the eastern parts of the country. Putin specifically ordered Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu to pull back forces involved in planned spring drills in the Rostov, Belgorod and Bryansk regions to their home bases. The West says they see no sign of a pullout after Putin's earlier claim of a withdrawal, and NATO says it didn't see any immediate movements to validate the latest assertions. The Kremlin statement didn't say how many troops would be pulled out from the 3 regions or specify how quick the withdrawal would be. The United States and the European Union have slapped travel bans and asset freezes on members of Putin's entourage over Russia's annexation of Crimea. Facing the prospect of more Western sanctions, Putin supported a peace plan for settling the crisis, which was brokered by the Swiss chairmanship of the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. The OSCE roadmap aims to halt the violence and de-escalate tensions ahead of the vote by offering an amnesty for those involved in the unrest and urging talks on decentralization and the status of the Russian language. The OSCE has also sent an observer mission for the election. In Colombia, an overcrowded bus carrying young people home from a church service caught fire on a street in a northern city, and at least 32 children on it were killed. The regional police chief, Colonel Adan Leon, said 18 people, including some adults, had been found alive at the disaster in the city of Fundación, which is about 750 kilometers north of Bogota, the capital of Colombia. He said information was not complete, and he warned that the death toll could rise. Leon said most of the estimated 50 people on the bus were younger than 14. Local officials said the bus was rated to carry only 38 and an investigation is underway. Mayor Luz Estela Duran told RCN Television News that investigators had not yet determined what caused the fire. Officials say that people on the bus were returning from an event at an evangelical church. The king of pop and a likely successor, Prince of Pop Justin Timberlake, ruled the Billboard Music Awards, though Michael Jackson made a splash via hologram and Timberlake accepted his awards via video from overseas. A hologram of Jackson made its debut, mirroring the late icon's signature slick dance moves as some members of the audience became emotional. While Timberlake won 7 prizes, including the Top Artist and Billboard 200 album, and accepted the honors outside of the country where he was on tour. Robin Thicke, who won 4 awards, including Top 100 Song for Blurred Lines, debuted a new song called Get Her Back, aiming to win over his actress wife Paula Patton after they announced in February they were separating. He sang on bended knee and ended with the line, "I gotta get her back tonight." After 2 standout performances, Jennifer Lopez was awarded with the 2014 Icon Award. And this was live from Las Vegas MGM Garden. She is the first woman to receive this award. Past winners of the Icon Award include Neil Diamond, Stevie Wonder, and Prince.
Oh my God! What the heck? Thank you! And thank you, Ricky and Iggy. Thank you so much for doing this for me tonight. You know, music has always been my first love. And I thank God, and I thank my fans, and I thank my friends, my family, that I've been able to do this over these years and through 10 albums. I want to thank Jeff Aroff and Jordan Harris, who gave me my very first deal at the work group. I want to thank Tommy Mottola, whose vision of the artist that I could be made all of this happen. Thank you to Corey Rooney, who's been with me from my very first album to my 10th album, guiding me, helping me grow, even if that meant letting me go and watching me come back. L.A. Reid, the record man who stepped in at a time when I needed it. And my new family at Capitol, including Steve Barnett, Greg Dennis, my family, my personal team, my cousins, my sisters, my friends. You've all been such a huge part of this along the way. I don't know how I could have done this without you. Thank you to Benny Medina. No one has ever shown me how to dream bigger and aim higher and work harder or love more what I'm doing, because I'm doing it with you. I'm so happy we're on this journey together. I want to thank my mom and dad, my mother for always being the mom who was singing and dancing around the house and taking us to musicals, and my dad for being the steady rock of love he always was for us. Thank you to my babies, Max and Emmy. You are the light of my life and the reason for anything and everything that I do. Para mi gente latina, trabajen duro y sueñen en grande. Mucha fe, mi gente. Lastly, I just wanted to say, all you little ones sitting on the living room floor watching the TV right now, just like I used to do when I was back in the Bronx, have faith, dream big, think big, and know that anything is possible. You never know where you might end up. Thank you. I love you. Good night. Bo, I love you.
This marks the end of our bulletin for today. Now for a reminder of our top stories. Prime Minister Tamam Salam warns of the dangers of presidential vacuum in Lebanon, saying that efforts should be exerted to avoid it. Rai defends his visit to Jerusalem, saying it is a church and pastoral related visit. The Minister of Defense for Syria's opposition government resigns following disagreements with the body's head. Those are your Monday headlines live on Future Television in Beirut. I'm Yumna Nofal, wishing you a good night.